It was like it's 2009, 10, something like that. I was 12 years old. I mean, it's foggy, and when you're young, you
Hmm.
start playing, and then like for this couple weeks, you don't play at all, and then you do play, and then you don't, and it's like 3 years before you're like, oh yeah, I play guitar, and I've played for a while now, so it's kind of foggy. But yeah, I've played for like 13 years now since I was a little kid.
Yeah. When you
Yeah.
started out, was there did you have aspirations like I want to write songs and do my own thing, or were you just learning the song of the week that was popular on the radio or what
It
have you?
was a little different than that. When I was a kid, I was obviously like starry-eyed young buck. Like I'm gonna be famous. I'm gonna be the best guitarist there ever was. Cause you're 12 years old and you pick up a guitar and you think you're so cool. And it wasn't like that. I didn't actually sing until 5 years after I played guitar. I never sung. I just never did. And like then I'd started to, but I didn't learn songs. I would 90% of the time it would be Dave Matthews Band,
Mm.
and I would just learn Dave Matthews Band songs or whatever licks would come up on Marty Schwartz on like YouTube that he would want to teach you because I just learned from YouTube and from my cousin. Like we just learned together. So I never like had aspirations to play and sing songs when I started out because like I wasn't a singer.
Hmm.
So I just kind of played guitar for fun,
Yeah.
but with dreams and aspirations of being like, I'm gonna be famous. I'm gonna be a rock star. I'm gonna be the best guitarist there ever was.
Yeah. Well, the singing, how did that? Is that just something you gave it a try and?
Uh, well, so I had a project that I did with a couple of my buddies. I
Hmm.
found like a singer in high school that was like became my best friend for years, and um, he would sing, and so we would write songs together, and I would sing some back up here and there, or I would write a line and help him out. And then like one day, I was at work, and I just wrote a whole song at work. It just came right out of me. I didn't even like try. I just wrote the whole thing, and somehow I remembered like 5 minutes of lyrics, like just somehow. And I went home and I sung it real quietly for a while, and my buddy at the time, my best friend at the time, came over to my house, and I didn't know while I was practicing this song, and he sat on the stairs, so I didn't know he was there, and listened to me for like an hour while I was practicing this song. And by the time I was done with it, I had like let it out. I wasn't singing quiet anymore, and then he came up and scared the crap out of me, and was like, "Man, that's really good. When did you write that?" And I was like, "How long have you been there?" Because
Uh.
and that's how the first song that I ever wrote came to be. And then I just kind of never stopped singing.
Yeah.
Looked up videos to get better. When I do covers, it's like I don't do covers that like people request of me.
Mm-hmm.
I learn the songs that I like and that I want to play. I like their sound, or I think that I'll be able to play them really well. Every once in a while, there will be like something like recently I did a live stream that was like all Beatles covers. So I went and I learned Eleanor Rigby and Can't Buy Me Love by the Beatles.
Mm-hmm.
Never really listened to the Beatles much, not crazy about them, but when I learned their covers, I loved it. I love to
Mm-hmm.
play them. It's great. It feels good. But whenever I write original songs, I really only have the capability of writing by myself because
Mm-hmm.
you do need that like to be alone to like really let yourself come out because when I write I don't sit down and intentionally write lyrics. I'll sit down and I'll play a song and I'll put myself in a headspace of the song. Like sometimes I'll write a song about a setting and I'll put myself there. And
Mm-hmm.
then the words come out and I don't intentionally write anything. And once I have a whole song, then I'll go through and I'll do edits. And after that, I don't get like stage fright or anything. I can just play originals in front of people. Now, I assess originals sometimes because I have some originals in certain places that I don't think would be received very well,
Mm-hmm.
and I just don't play them
Yeah.
because it's just why play something for someone that they don't want to listen to
Mm-hmm.
or that they wouldn't receive well. Like
Uh, when do you remember the first time you played to an audience or?
I don't remember exactly the first time that I played, but the first venue I played at, I played there for like 3 years, maybe two, three, somewhere. It was some open mic night in Chambersburg. It really wasn't that great. It was more of like the people that ran it knew a bunch of musicians and they wanted them to come out, but they had to have it be an open mic night to get more like different people out.
Mm-hmm.
So I would go out, and we were never received well there because it was all like old rock and whatnot, and we were like these young kids. I was like 17 playing like modern stuff, and that's not what they wanted to listen to, but we would go and we would play our hearts out for 3 songs, and sometimes it sounded great and sometimes it didn't. And I remember back then I would get so nervous. Oh man, it was crazy before I played, but then the moment that I started playing on stage, it all just goes right away. And I've always been like that. I've always had like a bunch of anxiety until I start playing, and then once I start playing, I'm fine. It's all gone. So I don't know if that's the case for other people, but that's how it's always been for me. So I'm always like fighting through that.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the first place I ever played. Then I played a couple little things here and there. You know, when you first start out, you don't book shows. Like you go and you experience live music through open mic nights, or at least that was my experience.
Yeah. When you're starting out, we talked a little bit earlier about the young people and encouragement and everything, and let's where you're sitting at today with the music scene, where you're in, fit in with their music scene. Is it one of those things? Do you ever look back and say, "How did I get here?" Or is there like key people in your coming up through that is like, "Hey, this guy encouraged me, and I'm here because of this," this circumstance? Or maybe it was the reverse. Somebody told you, "No, you can't do this," and you say, "Yeah, look at me,
Well,
here I go."
yeah. I mean, when I first started out, my whole family, like I was telling you earlier, they had to make sure that I knew that I was never going to be a musician. I would never be good at guitar and whatnot. And at one point, I remember having a conversation with my grumpy uncle. Everyone has the grumpy uncle. And I was like really beat up about it at that point. I wasn't very good, and like I thought I could get better, but I wasn't like really putting it into it because like everyone was beating me down. He was just like, he looked me dead in the eyes, grumpy uncle style, and was just like, "Well, then stop playing guitar. Don't ever play again. Never pick up your guitar again. If that's how you feel about it, just don't play guitar, or prove them wrong." And then I just never. And then I was like, "All right." And somehow, in some weird way, that lit a fire under me. And then I was like, "I'm never gonna stop playing guitar." Because I guess being presented with the option of not playing music, I was just like, "No way, absolutely not. Like I'm gonna play music."
Mm-hmm.
And I just never stopped. So I guess.
Do you think there was an alternative motive in that conversation to push you a little bit?
Maybe he might have just been being mean.
Yeah.
I mean, he might have.
Yeah.
But maybe he did want me to continue to play guitar because I stopped talking to him for years, and I ran into him at Bless the Woods, and I was spinning fire, and he was just the happiest thing that I used like was spinning fire like we used to still. And I told him that I played music, and we went out to this campfire where everyone was playing music, and he watched me all night play music, and he was real happy about it.
Huh.
He was real happy that I didn't like change course, and I guess I stayed on the same path. I guess he really liked that, but he wouldn't tell me that. I could just tell. I know him, but yeah. So I definitely think that he is one of my earliest influences to not stop.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Well, and you had a cousin as well that
Yes.
you played. You guys kind of maybe there was a little bit of a rivalry.
Yeah, he was 15. I was 12. So me being the younger one, I always had to like prove myself as much as possible. So anytime he learned something, I had to learn it, and I had to come back to hang out with him on the weekends, and I always had to have something new. And we really pushed each other in this like friendly, unfriendly rivalry. Like we both got to be the best at guitar, but neither of us ever got better than each other. It's like somehow we stayed right like this the whole way up until we got to the level we're at right now. And we just always pushed each other.
Yeah. Do you still does he still play? Do you guys still get together and play any, or?
He plays music. Yeah, he definitely still plays guitar. He's really good. He sings. He writes his own songs. He's great. I love to play music with him. but he doesn't do live music as much anymore. He's like kind of started a family and got a house and is working. He's still in college. Like he doesn't really have the time to go do the live stuff. So he really is just working on his act at home. He plays a lot of music at home.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. But, I mean, if I ever have like a big show and I need like I need like an opener or something, or I want him to come play music with me, he's a phone call away, really.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it'd be great.
This first song that you were talking about earlier, is that on the album?
No, because I recorded the album about a year ago now. I had like started it, and it's been a project, long time coming. I stopped working on it for a couple months because I went on a road trip, and I didn't finalize that song. Like I had it written. But when I came back, I met like a really amazing group of people, and I met Raven, and like they really liked that song, and that's when I finished it. Like after like playing it for them, I didn't like ever intend to write it the way it was now. It kind of just happened because I started playing it so much, and then the pieces fell together, and then it became a really cohesive, my best song, my favorite song, and the song that most like that people remember me for. So it's not on the album. I'm going to release it as a single after my album. So that's my plan for that one.
Yeah.
But I have it in so many places now. Like you can listen to the song. It's just not on an album.
Yeah. When you write a song, have you ever written a song that it was you were in one place emotionally when you wrote it, and then as time goes by, you sit back and you go, I'm not in that place again. I still appreciate this song, or maybe the song means something different to me now. Have you seen this progression with your music, or?
Yeah, I definitely can look at my old originals and like see where my headspace was, and know now that I am not in that headspace at all. I also will write songs that are completely not about me and about fictional people, so I have to put myself in those people's shoes to write a song about that. But like one song that for example, I wrote My Own Space, and that song's about being like, I wrote that, finished it right after my band had broke up, and that was when I decided that like I was going to be a solo artist. And I'll admit, I was pretty lonely. I kind of lost a lot of friends. Like I didn't hang out with them much anymore. Everyone kind of went their separate ways, and I was just like hanging out writing music. So that one kind of came about, and I am not in any kind of situation like that anymore. But it's still one of my favorite songs to play.
Yeah. I've asked older people this and younger people, and the moment, if you look back, let's say you're 80 years old and you're looking back through your music career, and you go, there's this moment, there was that moment. And I know there's always subject with your age and everything, that you might have other moments like that, but right now, what would that moment be that you look back and say, this is what it was all about? That moment, me getting to this moment, would be what it was all about.
I'm not sure that moment's happened yet. I think that moment's on the way. But if I had to choose between some of the highlights of my music career right now, probably when I went and did like live on Atlantic at Virginia Beach with my old band. Like it was great. We really felt like we were on the cusp of something great, and then we broke up right after. And then like recently, I feel closer to achieving my dreams than I ever have before in the history of all of my musical everythings. I just feel closer to achieving my goals of like just playing music and gigging and like being a musician, like the musician that I want to be now more than ever. I have a support group of people that love me and love to listen to me play music. I have a girlfriend that wants to help me so much and does so much for me. Like
She is a cool chick.
Yeah, she's pretty great.
Yeah.
It's almost like she's in the room.
Almost.
But yeah, so I mean, I definitely, if there was ever a moment, I wouldn't say it's a specific moment for me. I feel like this last 6 months is the whole moment. So Bless has a long backstory, and it kind of was just like it wasn't anything that was intentional. It kind of just happened. So I went to a festival called Bless the Woods, so there's where the name came from. At Bless the Woods at 10 o'clock, all the bands go and they hang out around a campfire. And I made sure to be the first person at the campfire. And so I was already playing music and jamming when all the other musicians showed up, and they joined in with me. And we were all jamming. At one point, there was a guy with like a stand-up bass. A dude brought an electric guitar out to a campfire, and I was like, what are you going to do with that? And he had a pocket amp. So that was really cool. And then this guy with the trumpet came out. Well, the guy with the electric guitar, once the trumpet dude came up, he was like, hey man, so I'm going to play this really groovy lick. And my trumpet player is going to like do some trumpet stuff to this lick. And I was like, yeah, absolutely. So he played this really nice like lead lick with like some funky groove, and I was like, this is really good. So I found the key and I created a chord progression that sounded good to his lick. And so we played that for a while, and then some random dude was like started singing to it, and he was just like, life is just a moment. And I immediately jumped on that and was like, yeah. And so I sung it, and like he had a lower voice, so I had a like higher like pitch. So we were singing back and forth. He would go low, and then I would go high, and we sang that for a little bit. And then like the trumpet guy kind of took back over, and I made like the first verse there. Essentially, I made it's just the start of the song. I wrote that there, and I sang that, and then we sang Life is a Moment for a while. It was like 20 minutes of like the same couple lines, and we were just loving it. Like we had drum circle going on with our music and everything. Like the one dude came up and looked at my guitar and started playing the chords with me, and so we did that for a while, and I was, I guess, the only one smart enough to know that I'm not smart enough to remember the lyrics. So I pressed record on my phone, and I recorded the whole thing. And so after the jam was all done, the next morning I listened to the recording, and I relearned everything. And so I had like this bare bones chorus, like hook thing, and then the introduction to the song, like the first intro verse. And so I sat on that for a really long time, actually. And I knew I was going to call it Bless because it happened at Bless the Woods. And then eventually, maybe 6 months later, I wrote a second verse to it. So I had two verses and a chorus, and then like the chorus. I went to an event called Rising Embers, and I was playing that song, and I was singing the chorus, Life is Just a Moment, when this pole fell down into a crowd of people. Like a telephone pole fell into a crowd of people. I was playing this song, and nobody got hit by the thing. Right in the center of the crowd. No one knew it fell behind them, and nobody got hit by it. I'm convinced that Bless saved someone's life. Like Bless blessed somebody and saved their life, and that's what that's where I decided to call it Bless. And so I wrote like another like verse that I wasn't crazy about, but I kept it around, and then I met this new friend group, and I had the song, but it wasn't solidified. Like I would play some stuff somewhere and some stuff other places. I started playing Bless so much that eventually it just all fell into place. And now my friend group just loves the song, and it's just so awesome that it came from being at a festival with a bunch of other musicians, and we were all like so into the jam, so into playing music with each other that came out of it. And I'm just really happy that I didn't like let that go, and I held on to it. So Bless has a really big backstory, and I'm really glad that it's like one of my like favorite songs, and everybody's like one of their favorite songs by me too. So
one of those moments.
Yeah, that's one of those moments. It's over a course of like a whole year.
Yep.
Yeah. All right, this is Bless. Wherever you go, you can find me here, 'cause life is just a moment, lives away from all of our days. While they sit inside money now making our whole lives pay day. Oh, what a shame. Freedom! And what we need is freedom. You can find it here. Take the wheel and steer, 'cause life is just a moment. 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 Happy when it rains. Right now the sky is crying, so they can keep their money bags. How do we stop the dying? And all one in the world unite together and fight for peace. That's all I want in the world. Just a moment. Yeah, we're working hard for the change. Life is just a moment. Yeah, we're breaking free from the chains. What we need is freedom. Yeah, we're working hard for the change. For the change. Life is just a moment. 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 Wherever you go, you can find me here. 'Cause life is just a moment. And take the